Okay, so the question is, people often traveling often opt to get or are required to get vaccinations before they go to a certain place or before they come back from that place, depending on where they live. The question was, if the body was healthy enough, would it be possible to not need the vaccine and not get sick? And the answer is absolutely. I have never gotten an optional vaccine to travel, and I never will. I would go anywhere and not worry about that. Okay? It's exactly the same conversation. Right on point. Get your body clean, get your body well functioning, create a strong, healthy immune system, and you don't have to worry about that. It's not an issue. So, for instance, some of you may have been told by your government you might want to get a yellow fever vaccine or what else? Dengue. They offer dengue protection. I don't even know. These are tropical diseases that are both carried by mosquitoes. Now, fortunately, you've probably noticed we don't have that many mosquitoes here. It's much less likely to be an issue, but it doesn't bother me. I live here. I'm not worried about it. I think it's a non-issue if your body's clean and healthy. Okay? So honestly, I wouldn't hesitate to travel anywhere, and I would never get a vaccine again. I would never do it. Well, the question was, if someone does one long fast, is that enough to protect them? If you're traveling shortly afterward, maybe after the 6 weeks when your body is what your body needs afterward to get to about 100%, to get to that point where you're really, really functioning well, that would probably be enough at that point, assuming they follow the 6-week plan. But what you want to be clear about is that fasting is like a giant reset button. Okay? If we assume, and this isn't really a safe assumption, it's not a valid assumption, but if we assume that we were all born with a perfectly well-functioning system, is that true? No. We're born with various degrees of genetic issues, of damage we've inherited from our parents and grant their parents based on their choices that are going to affect us. But if we were born with our body working as well as possible, when we fast, what we're doing is we're giving the body a chance to turn itself back, to reset itself as closely as possible where that was, depending, based on how toxic your body's become, how high your vitality is, how long you fast, how much opportunity has to do this. Does it do it 100% in one fast? Probably not, in most cases. If you're talking about someone very young, like yourself, 22, who's not very toxic and still has a high level of vitality, maybe you only need one long fast to do that. What's important to understand, though, and I hope you all do, is that what happens after you leave here is 100% dependent on the choices you make after you leave here. Fasting does not give you immunity for life. Okay, I fasted 40 days, that's it, I'm good, right? No. If you go back and let's say that you were someone who came here having lived on McDonald's, and you go back to that after you leave here. It's not going to take you very long to reintoxicate your system. Okay? You go back to using drugs and alcohol. It's not going to take you very long. I had 2 conversations today. I've been on the phone almost all morning. 2 conversations with people who fasted with me in the past. One was a woman who did a short fast and did 2 weeks following the 6-week plan after the refeeding process, and said, I felt and functioned better than ever for those 2 weeks. And then she was on vacation with her husband, and they were in a place where pretty much all they saw was fast food, junk food. And one day, she finally said, all right, I'll have a veggie pizza. A little compromise, but she didn't bounce back from it. Okay, it's now been going on for, I don't know how many weeks, 7, 8 weeks. And she's eating cooked food every day. That's what happens, okay? This is one of the reasons I tell people, don't go there. I mean, get clear what you're committed to and then understand what's optimal. And there are some compromises you don't want to make. A little bit of cooked food every once in a while, that's okay, isn't it? Well, it's highly addictive. So, Victoria Butenko years ago wrote a book, The 12 Steps to Raw Food, and she pointed out, think of normal food like you would a serious drug. And she was right on about that. Green smoothies, maybe not so much, but as far as that's concerned, right on. In fact, worse than virtually any drug. Just as addictive, if not more. And here's the thing. Imagine for a second that you had a heroin addiction. We had a gentleman here from Sweden or Norway last session who had a heroin addiction. He'd been off heroin already for a few years before he came here, but he wanted to really get it all out of his system, take his health up to the next level. Imagine you had a heroin addiction and you were clean, you were done with it. That's it. Can you imagine thinking to yourself, I might use heroin every once in a while, just a little bit. It's not going to hurt me. The hell it won't. It's highly addictive and it destroys your body. I mean, why would you do that? Well, you wouldn't, right? You wouldn't. Once you gotten past the addiction, you probably wouldn't make that choice. But food, so-called food, is much more addictive, if not at least as addictive. But it's actually much more insidious. Because when's the last time you went to a family gathering or a party with your old friends, probably more likely there, and someone said, hey, you want some heroin? Everyone else is doing heroin. Just a little heroin's not going to hurt you. I'll bet you that's never happened. But when's the last time that didn't happen at a family gathering? When someone didn't say, oh, come on. A little bit of rice and beans isn't going to hurt you. Just have a little bit. Try a piece of cake. It's healthy. I made it myself. It's good for you. And just a little bit's not going to hurt you. Is there anybody here that hasn't heard this many times? We've all heard this over and over again, haven't we? Okay? So, the food addictions are actually much harder because everybody out there is trying to convince you to do what they're doing. And that doesn't happen with most drugs, unless you're hanging out with that particular crowd. With food, it's everywhere. And it's in front of you, it's in your face. You turn on TV, it's in your face. Drive down the street, it's in your face. It's pretty hard to get away from. So you have to be really clear that you're not going there. I'm committed to my health. I know this is a serious addiction. I know if I do it once, it's going to be very hard to stop. I'm not going there. Okay? It's that simple. You just don't do it. I've joked before about people, and this has happened probably 5 or 6 times over the last 20 years, where a client has called me and said, I'll answer the phone and there's someone crying on the other end, right? What's wrong? I ate a cookie. Okay, well, A, don't eat any more cookies, okay? Right? Now, based on what I just said, it's not that easy to stop sometimes, though. That's the problem. But, at that point, you got to get really clear. Why am I doing this? There's a young woman I've been working with or trying to help now for months, probably 6 months. She continues eating every single day, eating garbage, and then beating herself up for it and feeling bad, and so doing it again. I've already ruined it. Might as well have some more garbage. Right? You just don't want to go there, because that's the easiest way to stop doing it is to not do it at all.